I am an old man. I've decided to start a kind of diary. It may enable me to record some of the thoughts and feelings that I cannot express to anyone. I am anxious to make some record of the strange things that I have heard and seen during my many years of loneliness. This house has had a reputation, a bad one, and until I bought it for more than 80 years, no one had lived here. I am not superstitious, but I have ceased to deny that things happen in this old house, how ancient it is, though its age strikes one less perhaps than the quaintness of its structure, which is curious and fantastic to the last degree. Little curved towers and pinnacles, while the body of the building is in the form of a circle. Should this, my diary, ever be read when I'm gone, the readers will but shake their heads and be more convinced that I was mad. I was studying in the library, my dog Pepper sleeping by my feet, that night when it all started. Then for the last time, I saw the earth, an enduring globule of radiant blue, swimming in an eternity of ether, and there I, a fragile flake of soul dust, flickering silently across the void. Slowly, in the distance, A redness became plainer and larger until it spread out into a great somber glare, dull and tremendous. I fled onward, and it seemed to stretch beneath me like a great ocean of somber red. I could see little, save that it appeared to spread out interminably in all directions. I sank into the great sea of clouds. I became aware that I was standing upon the shore of an immense and silent sea. In front swam a still immensity of a sleeping ocean. At times it seemed to me that I caught a faint glimmer of light under its surface. I felt drawn to the great silent sea, the quiet waters. I essayed to wade out to them, but some invisible barrier held me back. Yet I was irresistibly drawn. I must see what was held within the waters. I was borne forward through the rift until I came upon an enormous amphitheater. Yet of the terrible grandeur of the place I recked nothing. I was confounded with amazement to behold, occupying in the center of the arena, a stupendous structure, built apparently of green jade. Yet in itself it was not the discovery of the building that had so astonished me, but the fact that in no particular did the lonely structure vary from this house in which I live. Hitherto, I had been so engrossed in the house that I had given only a cursory glance around. As I peered, a new terror came to me, a vast shape of blackness, giant-like. There was that about it that gave me the impression of eternal watchfulness. I recognized it, the ancient Egyptian god Anubis, the god of death. Now I saw that there were other things up among the mountains. It rose to me unbidden, deities. There is something about them, an indescribable sort of silent vitality that suggested a deathless trance. I could imagine their continuing eternally, immortal. The word rose in my thoughts, and I grew to wondering whether this might be the immortality of the gods. I looked for my watch and her ring. I was confounded to see that I had returned 5 minutes before I had left. I thought impossible, but checking the wind on my watch, I found it entirely spent. I had been gone for nearly 24 hours. I became aware of my hunger and took some biscuits and brandy to restore myself. All the while, the question repeated in my mind. What does it mean? What does this all mean? I was unable to make an answer, even out of the depths of my imagination. But I only seemed to be capable of wonder and fear. And so the days passed on, and I am still filled with a wonder to know the meaning of all that I saw on that memorable night. Yet, well, I know that my curiosity is little likely to be satisfied. It was an evening, a week later, when I was in my garden, furthering my studies, when suddenly I heard a crash away in the direction of the pit. I could see none of the brutes. The gardens lay silent and deserted. I thought this would be a good time to return to Pepper and dress his wounds. I went to where Pepper lay and moved him to a big basket. I made sure he had food and water nearby, but after that, I was at a loss as to what else I could do. It occurred to me that now would be a good time to make a final survey of our defenses. This I proceeded to do at once, visiting the whole of the house again and examining each of the doors, each of the windows. Taking the kitchen lamp down from its hook, I made my way to the cellar door. For of all the great awe-inspiring rooms in this house, the cellars are the hugest and weirdest. Great gloomy caverns of places, unlit by any ray of daylight. For perhaps half a minute I hesitated. I would have been very willing to forego the task, as indeed I am inclined to think that any man well might. Yet I would not shirk the work. I felt that to do so would smack of sheer cowardice. Besides, as I reassured myself, the cellars are really the most unlikely places in which to come across anything dangerous, considering that they can be entered only through an oaken door, and the key of which I always carry on my person. Gradually, I shook off the frightened sensation, and with a calmer mind I felt that the trap ought to be more secure. This I accomplished by placing upon it several large pieces of the dressed stone. Having secured the trap to my satisfaction, I brought up several of the heavy pieces of timber that were laying around with me to the study. These I wedged up slantwise against the door from the floor, nailing them top and bottom. And for half an hour I worked hard, and at last got the damaged door shored to my mind. Pepper was asleep, but woke as I checked on him in recognition. He seemed slightly better, even raising his head in greeting. First, I took a little brandy to fortify myself against the cold night and the long watch that I anticipated. Then went to gather a blanket from the cupboard. I selected a heavy rifle, an old and tried weapon, and having procured ammunition, I made my way to the roof. Slowly the hours passed, without anything unusual happening, and as the moon rose, showing the garden apparently empty and silent. When there came to my ears the soft padding of footsteps. I knew now that there was no more reason to fear an attack from this quarter. I had removed the only means of reaching the window, And as none of the other windows had any adjacent water pipes to tempt the climbing powers of the monsters, I began to feel more confident of escaping their clutches. After a long night, the eastern sky began to pale with the coming of dawn. Gradually the day came, and by its light I scanned the gardens earnestly. But nowhere could I see any signs of the brutes. The others must have removed them during the night. That was the last of the assault on the house. I did not see any sign of the creatures for some time afterwards. Now I come to the strangest part of my story. My God, what manner of place can this house be? Again, I saw my true love, such exquisite torture, not to be with her ever again. My soul cries out, what have I done? What could I have done? It was late at night, and I was at my studies in the library. Pepper was sleeping nearby, when a strange sound came to my ears, like the sound of a vast mainspring suddenly released. A year may have gone by, or a century, and I was left suspended and alone. For a while, many thoughts crowded my mind, so that I was unable to do aught save stare blindingly before me. I seemed whelmed in a sea of doubt and wonder and sorrowful remembrance. I looked about dazedly. Thus I saw so extraordinary a sight. Two suns, one red, one green. From them had grown a boundless river of softly shimmering globes, each one enfolded in a wondrous fleece of pure cloud. I had to replace my trusted Pepper, but I could not replace him in my heart. Nor could I stand the new dog in the house. I had built a stout kennel for him and kept him outside in the gardens to warn me if any intruders would venture onto my property. It was not long before it came for me. The next day, I examined the path for footprints. Yet, here again, there is nothing to tell me whether or not I had dreamed last night. It was only when I came to the dog that I discovered tangible proof that something did happen. I went to his kennel. He kept inside, crouching in one corner, and I had to coax him to get him out. When finally he consented to come, he was in a strangely cowed and subdued manner. As I patted him, my attention was attracted to a greenish patch on his left flank. The shape of the mark was curious. It reminded me of the imprint of a large talon or hand. Ultimately, there was nothing I could do for the poor creature, except to put it out of its misery. That night, as I prepared for sleep, I found out that I was doomed. Somehow, the corruption had spread from the dog into a small scratch on my hand. I was at a loss as to what to do. Nothing I tried could stop the corruption from spreading. Soon, it had spread up my arm to my shoulder. Now it has grown to cover half my head. I can feel it working. My God, I haven't long now. My love, can you ever forgive me? Surely a loving and forgiving God would understand.